Hello gamers, and welcome back to another Transformers review, and today we're going to be taking a look at Buzzworthy Bumblebee Origins Bee. So here is Origins Bee in his robot mode, and of course this is trying to look like his G1 cartoon model, or at least the Earth one, because he never really had a Cybertronian cartoon model, at least for his robot mode, but we'll get to that later. But for the robot mode, it is pretty good. It definitely doesn't look like he turns into a VW Beetle with this robot mode. The only real giveaway is the feet that look like a VW Beetle. But I like how they've redesigned it so it does look like he turns into his Cybertronian all mode while still kind of looking like he turns into a VW Beetle. Which is very similar to what Siege did. Which is why I consider this Siege Bumblebee, because for some reason we didn't get Bumblebee in any of the War for Cybertron trilogy toy lines. Even though this is technically on the back of the box, it does say War for Cybertron Trilogy, but this is mainly marketed under the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. A line mainly repacks, and I guess the only other original figure from there would be the Core Class one. But yeah, for this road mode, it is pretty good. It's a bit kibbly, as you can see we have some bits on the side here. We have a big backpack, but it is trying to look like it turns into a VW Beetle and then turns into that one thing that he turns into in the first episode of G1. But again, we'll get to that later. But as for the road mode, it is pretty good. I feel it looks a bit flat. There's not that much surface detail on here. I mean, there's a bit on the shoulders, on the legs, but there's still not that much. And I feel the grill here looks a bit out of place, seeing as how this is trying to be the top of the car, but this is used very cleverly in the transformation. And the paint on this, for the most part, is non-existent. It's mainly just black and yellow plastic, and a bit of blue paint on here, and a tampographed Autobot symbol, a bit of silver here, some black here, and then the rest is on the alt mode. And the head sculpt. Yeah, it's not the greatest. Bumblebee looks a bit, drunk, but I've kind of gotten used to it. Yeah, I would have preferred if they used the Netflix head, as it does look a lot better. But this is what we get. But thankfully, you can swap the heads. I haven't tried it, and I don't plan on trying it, but you can. Also, this thing is tiny. Even when you compare it to something small like Core Class Optimus Prime, Studio Series B127, Generation Select Steep Cover, Studio Series 86 Hot Rod, and Earthrise Optimus Prime, you can really see that this thing is tiny. It's actually around the same size as the Cliff Jumper mold Earthrise one. But that is fitting of Bumblebee to be tiny, and they did make up for his small size with all of these. Yeah, this guy has a bunch of accessories, so let's get into them. First of all, we have his gun. So this is just a standard pistol. It's actually like an upscaled version of the one we get with the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Core Class B. And of course, this is blast effect compatible at the tip, which is always nice to see, because with a lot of recent War for Cybertron trilogy figures, aka mostly everything from Kingdom, for some reason, not a lot of them are blast effect compatible. But this just has a simple 5mm handle and can just slot into his hands. And you can get him in some pretty cool poses with it. And speaking of blast effect compatibility, this guy is covered in those little blast effect ports that you'd see on War for Cybertron trilogy figures, and also says on the box War for Cybertron trilogy, so I really think this was meant for Siege because of the Earth robot mode, Cybertronian vehicle mode kind of thing. Anyways, our next accessory is a jetpack. I don't remember him using this. He probably did sometime. But it's a pretty nice jetpack. It's not really painted, but it just plugs onto the back pretty simply with a 5mm port. So you can use this on any figure using the 5mm port system, like Earthrise Prime, or any of the Siege Sideswipe molds, even though it's a bit too far down. And thankfully, the jetpack is blast effect compatible, so you can just slide one into the hole, get the other one in, and make it look like he's flying away. And its final accessory, or I guess accessories, are all of these Energon Rods. These are all identical, so let's look at one. So this is just a stick of clear plastic with a bit of glitter sparkliness in there. Look very closely. The camera doesn't want to focus, but it is in there. So yeah, this is from the first episode of the G1 cartoon, which is what this Bumblebee is based on. And you get 5 of these rods. They're, almost as tall as the figure itself, just like a head shorter. And these are completely useless. Like, there's just so many. There's 5 of them, and Bumblebee can't even properly hold them. They don't slot into his hands anywhere. He has to kind of wrap his arm around them, and it looks super awkward, and they don't even stay in then. And I get Hasbro trying to, justify the price point with that, but maybe put that budget into giving Bumblebee a better head sculpt or more paint. Or maybe just include, 2 or 3 of these Energon Rods, not 5. Or maybe take that budget and give him some blast effects to use with his gun and his jetpack. That'd be nice. Because as it stands, these are just completely useless. So yeah, the accessories are pretty good, except for the Energon Rods. Yeah, it's a neat addition, but did you have to include 5 of them? Anyways, as for this guy's articulation, we have a ball joint at the neck, which is super tight. Ugh. We have a universal joint at the shoulder, which is, again, pretty tight. We have a butterfly joint here, thanks to transformation, again, pretty tight. We have a bicep swivel, a past 90-degree elbow bend, and the wrists can fold in for the transformation. We have a waist swivel, because we're for Cybertron Trilogy. Some universal hips that give you decent range of movement. Thigh swivels. A double jointed knee bend that only gets you, almost 90. And then, of course, a standard ankle pivot, which goes really deep. So yeah, this guy has pretty good articulation for something this small. Pretty good articulation, but he is a deluxe, so it's kind of standard. Except for those butterfly joints, those are pretty nice to have. So I think we've looked at the robot mode long enough, so now let's get on to the transformation. Now this transformation is fun and enjoyable. In theory. In practice, it's annoying because of the tolerances. For example, those butterfly joints to fold the arms in, way too tight. And that's fine, I guess. You can get around that. But the legs. The legs! Ah! Why are they like this? It's such a clever transformation, but why don't they want to stay together? For example, the panels on the back that tab into the waist, I'll put an image up right now, they love to fall off. Well, one of them does, and it just does not want to stay in and loves to fall off. You can see in the recording, I don't know if it's going to show up right now, but it will be, getting angry at it. And then those side panels. Why do they like to fall off when you fold them out? That's just, ugh. Which is so annoying because this transformation it's clever. It's fun. In theory, again. But in practice, just those tolerances are so annoying. This thing, I basically have to parts form it. So yeah, transformation. Fun in theory, in practice. And here's the vehicle mode, and this is actually pretty good. It is a pretty faithful recreation of the one we saw in the first episode of G1, which is what this is trying to go for. Actually reminds me a lot of the Siege Tetrajets, where they have a Earth-based robot mode, and then a Cybertronian vehicle mode based on their G1 Episode 1 appearances. Which again leads me to believe that this was meant to be in Siege, and was just cancelled and brought over to Buzzworthy Bumblebee. Overall, this is a pretty good vehicle mode. It's pretty hefty, it's solid. We have not a lot of paint, actually. It's pretty flat, but again, there's a lot of surface detail, which makes up for that. And we have some really nice aqua clear blue plastic right here. Now, this entire back bit is clear plastic, but this is the solid clear plastic, so it shouldn't be too bad. I love how the chest right here becomes the grill at the front, and the Autobot symbol, again, looks really nice, so it's not a full-on shell former, you use the chest on the vehicle mode, so that's pretty cool. And overall, it's just a good vehicle mode. Even though the idea is a bit dumb, where this thing looks more like a Dalgona from Squid Game than an alien spaceship. The underside looks crazy, so you can't really see how it's going to transform from here, which is nice. And there's also a lot of surface detail, which you don't see in the robot mode here. You can only see it on the underside on the vehicle mode, which is, again, really nice. You can show it the designers, they really cared. Also on camera, you can see the bits that are painted, the bits that are just yellow plastic, and it doesn't look the greatest. I mean, it looks pretty good on camera, but in person, it definitely looks a lot better. And of course, there is storage for the weapons on here. It's covered in 5mm ports. You're meant to put the jetpack on here. This looks stupid. Well, also, if you want to, you can put the gun on here, because why not? And there's just not that much to say about the vehicle mode. It doesn't have any wheels or anything, it just kind of hovers. I kind of wish they made a wheel jack in this style, just to go with this. But oh well. Maybe in next year's Legacy, but who knows. Personally, I don't really like the vehicle mode, but, like, from an objective standpoint, it is a good vehicle mode. It's solid, it has some nice clear blue plastic. Yeah, there's not much more I can say about this vehicle mode. Now, as for what I rate this figure, the robot mode is decent. The alt mode is good, just personally not really my thing. The accessories are pretty good, except for these. But that transformation just, ugh. So I think I'm going to give this thing a solid 3 out of 5. If the transformation actually worked, I think this would have been a 4 out of 5. But I think for now, a 3 out of 5 is good. Yeah, that's it for my review of Buzzworthy Bumblebee Deluxe Class Origins Bee. If you liked the video, then like it. If you didn't, then don't. And yeah, bye.